Welcome to the Daily Dosage. I'm Pat Beach.
I'm John Lorge.
And everybody loves a reunion. You get to go meet up with old friends you haven't seen for a while, especially a 10-year reunion because you get to see who made it and who didn't. So we're looking at the NBA draft class of 1999. The top pick was Elton. John, what did you think about him?
Well, he was one of 4 Duke players selected, and I would say that he's probably the best of the group, but that being said, he's not perfect. If you would have asked me what I think of him 2 years ago, I probably would have called him a potential Hall of Famer. But he's had a lot of injury troubles, and I think he's going to be a guy that's kind of injured throughout the rest of the career. And so he probably won't be the best player of this draft class, but once again, better than the other Duke players.
Yeah, definitely by a long shot. I mean, none of these guys really amount to anything. Trajan Langdon, have you heard of him in the last 10 years? William Avery, can you name any of the teams he even played for? Corey Maggette has had a so-so career, pretty bitten by the injury bug. He was very athletic and part of some good teams, but didn't really blossom into the star some people projected him to be. But Duke didn't win the championship this year. UConn did, and they were led by Richard Hamilton, who was drafted in this draft class. What about him?
Rip, we all know him for the mask, and that's kind of where he really transformed, is when he helped lead that Detroit Pistons team to a championship. He's one of those guys, championship at college, championship in pros. It really says something about him. And so while Duke had a lot of good prospects, I think UConn might have had the better prospect. And Rip Hamilton, probably the most consistent jump shooter that we've seen in the last 10 years, and a really phenomenal player.
Yeah, definitely. He put on that mask and became a superhero, and from 15 feet, he's still a deadly player. So definitely someone, I think he could have a couple good seasons left in him for sure, especially because recently he hasn't really been taking too much contact and just kind of shooting jumpers. But let's talk about a couple of New Yorkers, Lamar Odom and Ron Artest. We've talked about them before, but let's talk about them in terms of how their careers have gone.
Yeah, Artest, it's been up and down and up and down. Defensively, he is a beast. You do not want this guy guarding you. He says it's his challenge to let nobody score more than 15 points a game on him. And, one-time All-Star, one-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's been pretty good, but when he crawled up in the stands and lit a guy up, that's going to leave a giant blemish on your career. Although, amazingly, he's been able to overcome it. And, with LA, he's working on reality TV shows, things like that. So he's had the more commercialized career, you might say, but Odom's a guy that I really like watching play because he can do it all. He can score, he can pass, he can rebound. Although I'm not sure that he's been the player that some thought he would be.
Yeah, I've been really disappointed in Odom's career, to be honest with you. I mean, when you look at this guy, you're thinking, wow, he can play any position from point guard to power forward. Yet, I mean, he doesn't really get the triple-doubles that you probably thought he would get originally back in 1999. And he also, kind of averages right around 14, 15 points a game. I kind of expected him to be a bit more of a prolific scorer. But, every player just kind of finds their niche, and he's found his niche as a team guy. So, more power to winning championships, I guess.
Yeah, Odom, some thought he was going to be a point guard. Some thought he was going to be Magic Johnson, but he's not. 99 did have some good point guards, though, especially explosive ones, like Steve Francis and Baron Davis.
Yeah, 2 guys, very explosive, very athletic, have been hit by the injury bug a ton of times. As a matter of fact, that's kind of something you could classify this whole draft class with,
Yeah, a lot of injuries here and there. Anybody that can play 82 games is amazing. And there's one guy in this draft class that's been able to do that, and that's Andre Miller. He's never played less than 80 games in a season. So while the more prolific, more explosive guys might get the publicity, I think Andre Miller is definitely the most consistent player of this draft class.
Yeah, he really is a model of consistency for the NBA. And, there are players that are just like that, not flashy, just get the job done. And Baron Davis and Steve Francis, they're really not that guy. They're the guy that gets a lot of attention. They're kind of in that Allen Iverson mold of player. I'm going to come, I'm going to be in your face, I'm going to dunk on you. But, they just didn't quite have the longevity or the body to take the hits that Iverson did.
No, and so Davis right now is going to try and get the Clippers into the playoffs, but Andre Miller's on a team that's definitely going to the playoffs in Portland. So if you look at their career in terms of success, it's kind of hard because both guys are potential All-Stars. Miller's never made it. Barron's made it a few times. But if you look at it in terms of wins, definitely Andre Miller is the guy that has the edge.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I mean, Miller's consistently been on pretty good winning teams throughout his career at Utah and through the NBA. But, this draft does have a rare feature, and that is 2 white guys that have both made the All-Star team. Wally Szczerbiak and Andre Kirilenko. John, what do you think of them?
Zerbiak is Wally Zerbiak. I mean, with one word, everybody knows what you're thinking when you say Zerbiak, because he's a guy, he could potentially go for 40 points in a game. When he's on, and he's unconscious. But then when he's not on, he thinks he's on, and he keeps shooting. He's kind of a one-sided player. He likes to shoot the basketball. He doesn't like to get too dirty on defense, not the quickest feet. So Zerbiak, he's almost an anomaly in the NBA. He's just his own guy. Kirilenko's a player I really like, a defensive giant, probably one of the most versatile defenders that we've seen maybe in NBA history because of his length, blocking shots from out of nowhere. He's a player I really like, but once again, a guy that maybe didn't reach the potential that you thought he had.
Yeah. There's another guy also like Kirilenko, Sean Marion, who kind of found his niche in the NBA in a different way. I mean, he's not really a traditional player. What do you think about Marion?
Fun to watch. I mean, when he's playing with a great point guard, you get him out in the open floor and he'll finish everything. So I like him in Dallas this year, but that's a guy that people thought might become a 20-point per game scorer every year. He never really developed that three-point shot. He has that awkward shooting motion, and he just stuck with it. He's a guy that's stuck in his ways. He knows he's good. He can rebound. He can score, but he never really developed.
Yeah, I guess to me, a lot of these players in this draft just kind of became content with the games that they had. And overall, what do you think about this draft class?
It's a very good draft class. You'll never call it the best draft class or a great draft class, but really when you look at it, you have 9 All-Stars. Don't forget, Manu Ginobili was the second to last player drafted. He didn't play until 2002, but he was still part of this draft class. So when you look at it, a lot of low-level stars, guys like that, nobody probably that will make the Hall of Fame, unless Rip Hamilton maybe, but I like the draft class. There's a lot of guys that you want to fill out your roster with, but still not that #1 star.
And there you have it. Thanks for tuning in, and we may come out with some more reunion shows, so stay tuned.
You got questions, we got answers. Hit us up on the comments on Twitter and give us an email. My question for you is, who's your favorite player of the 1999 draft class?